Hello, it is your friendly neighborhood warlock Gubstep here, and on today's episode of Praise the Lore, we will be covering Magni Bronzebeard. This series is probably the most popular out of the three I do. Your support and comments mean the world and encourage me to continue doing this. If you're new here, there's no video watch, simply just kick back, relax, and enjoy. Magni is the oldest of the three Bronzebeard brothers and became king of Ironforge during the Second War. After the Second War ended and Magni pledged Ironforge's support to the Alliance, he commissioned one of the most popular modes of transportation, the Deep Run Tram to Stormwind. The dwarves were all about exploring the world to find fabled treasures. It was under Magni that he aided in the creation of the famous Explorers Guild. Magni was more focused on archaeology and had the dwarven kingdom of Ironforge move its focus from engineering to archaeology. Magni Bronzebeard, Magni's brother, took on a life of archaeology and unveiling the secrets of Azeroth. However, during the Third War, when Muradin was exploring the frozen wastes of Northrend, Arthas and Muradin stumbled upon the fabled sword Frostmourne. Arthas saw this as a weapon of great power and took it for himself. He stabbed Muradin with it and left him for dead. Upon receiving this news, Magni promised revenge. Shortly after Muradin's rumored death, High Inquisitor Fairbanks and Alexander Mogreen gave Magni a crystal of pure light and asked that Magni forge a weapon from it. Magni personally sought out this task and forged one of the most unique weapons in Warcraft, the Ashbringer. It took Magni 3 days to forge Ashbringer, putting every ounce of emotion he had into forging the sword that he saw to avenge his brother. It was during this time that Arthas murdered his own father in cold blood with the same sword that he used to stab Muradin. Bran Bronzebeard, the youngest of the three Bronzebeard, always seemed to be missing. Magni never knew whether he was safe or not. Wanting to follow in the footsteps of his older brother, Muradin, Bran joined the Explorers League and set out to discover everything Azeroth had to offer. Disappearing into Anchorage for months at a time, Magni was relieved when he returned in one piece, but Bran ended up getting himself lost in Northrend shortly after. It is said during this time in the Third War, Magni actually became close allies with Chem Stormsnout, the leader of the Pandaren people. Magni had one child, Moira Bronzebeard. While it is not the male heir he had hoped for, the laws of Ironforge did not prohibit a woman from ruling Ironforge, and she is next in line when Magni steps down. Magni does not believe that a woman could rule as well as a man, and made sure Moira knew this. One sunny day, Moira was kidnapped on her way to Lakeshire by a group of dark iron dwarves, and brought before their leader, Emperor Dargron Thracian, in Shadowforge City. Karen Mighthammer, the only guard to survive the kidnapping, ran back to Magni. Winded and beaten, he manages to look at Magni. "King Magni, your daughter has been kidnapped by the Dark Iron clan. I am the only survivor amongst the guard that you sent to protect her." Magni looks to his nearest advisor, obviously distressed. "Send the group to Blackrock, and have them kill that lowlife scum!" The group successfully kills Emperor Dagron, only to find Moira weeping. "He was my lover, listened to everything I had to say, and believed that women were just as equal as men. Everything my father thought was wrong." Moira returns to Ironforge and explains the situation to Magni, telling him that she bears Dagron's child. Magni is devastated by this news. "Even in death, he has won," he softly says to himself. After his time in Outland, Magni approached Stormwind for assistance against the Dark Iron threat. His plea fell on deaf ears. While High Lord Bolvar Fordragon agreed with Magni that the Dark Iron Dwarves were a threat to the Alliance, Lady Katrana Prestor, who was the advisor to King Varian Rin at the time, accused King Magni of trying to involve Stormwind in his personal affairs. Stormwind refused to aid the dwarves in their time of need, despite the dwarves helping Stormwind during the Second War and pledging their support to the Alliance. Fortunately for Magni, Jaina Proudmoore had already informed him of the last known location of Logosh, which was another name for King Varian Wrynn. Logosh and his allies attacked the Dark Iron Dwarves. Magni and his forces shortly joined them. Between the two, they were able to drive the Dark Iron Dwarves out of Thandal's span. Logosh and his allies accompanied Magni back to Ironforge, where Logosh learned from Magni the disappearance of a knight close to Logosh, Marshal Windsor. While Logosh investigated the disappearance of the Marshal, Magni granted Valera sanctuary in Ironforge. Valera is a Blood Elf assassin who had been traveling with Logosh, but had an unfortunate fate, running into a warlock who caused her to become possessed with a demon of the Fell. It's during this time that it's learned by Logosh, Marshal Windsor discovered a dark secret. Lady Katrana Prestor, trusted advisor to King Varian Wrynn, who denied assistance to Magni when he asked for Stormwind's aid against the Dark Iron threat, was actually the Black Dragon Onyxia. Windsor unfortunately paid with his life for this discovery. Magni had good rule of Ironforge until the Lich King awoke. The Lich King sent Scourge to invade all corners of Azeroth. Magni fended off the army of the undead in Ironforge and sent troops to Stormwind to help them. During the slaughter of undead, members of the Church of the Holy Light traveled to Shatrath and created an artifact of the Naru's Light. Adventurers of the Alliance delivered this artifact to Magni to aid him in defending Ironforge, but with the help of this relic, he swore he would go to Northrend and discover the fate that befell upon his brother, who had been betrayed by Arthas. Magni received word that Muradin was alive in Northrend. The king took his forces and traveled to the stronghold of Frosthold in the Storm Peaks. Magni approaches the throne of Frosthold. Muradin? The king of the Frosthold looks puzzled. After being betrayed by Arthas and stabbed with Frostmourne, Muradin suffered a case of amnesia. Muradin's brother, Magni and Bronn, both helped him recover his long-lost memories. Magni returned to Ironforge, while Muradin remained in Northrend to aid the adventurers in the fall of the Lich King. The Emerald Nightmare began to invade Azeroth after the Lich King's fall, and Magni was one of its victims. He dreamt he had led a team through Blackrock Depths to rescue his daughter Moira and slay Dagron. Magni had accepted that Moira's child would be born, but would not allow a son of Dagron to inherit the throne of Ironforge. Instead, he would banish him forever from the kingdom. After learning of this, Moira stabbed Magni to death. Laying on the ground, bleeding out, Moira whispered to Magni while he is dying, "My half-Dark Iron son was only to watch the throne until my second son is born, a child of Ragnaros himself." Luckily, this was just a nightmare. A very real feeling nightmare. Bran approached Magni. "Brother, we have discovered a set of tablets in Ulduar, created by the Titans themselves. It appears to be some sort of ritual." Magni called for a meeting in Stormwind and made the other faction leaders aware of these tablets. Shortly after, Azeroth began getting invaded by elementals, and natural disasters started to wreak chaos in Azeroth. Specifically, violent earthquakes in the Dwarven region, killing many innocents. During this time, Magni was taking care of Anduin Wrynn, son of Varian Wrynn, and heir to Stormwind. He instructed a female dwarf, Erin, to look after Anduin while he handled matters elsewhere. Erin tells Anduin the tale of Magni and what happened to his daughter Moira. During an earthquake, Erin was killed as she was trapped in Thunderbrew Distillery, unable to escape. Magni could see Anduin was heartbroken by this news, and called him into his chambers to give him something. "Here," Magni said, holding out a mace. "Her name is Fearbreaker. She likes you. It is a Bronzebeard family heirloom. Take care of it. Magni did not have a son of his own to give it to, and took a liking to Anduin. The next day, Magni took it upon himself to undergo a ritual in an attempt to find out what is going on with Azeroth and why these sudden disasters have been occurring. Magni, Anduin, and others ventured to the heart of the earth in old Ironforge. The priest read the ritual aloud from the tablets. For behold, we are the earthen of the land, and its soul is ours, its pain is ours, its heartbeat is ours. We sing its song and weep for its beauty. The priest handed Magni the potion that was made as per the instructions on the tablets from Ulduar. Magni consumed the potion and spoke the words of the ritual. Within me is the earth itself. We are one, I am of it, and it of me. I listen for the mountain's reply. He began to hear hundreds of voices. It appeared Magni's plan to find out what was causing disasters in Azeroth was working. But the translation was a little more literal than the translators had determined. The ritual actually turned dwarves into the substance in which they had been crafted by the Titans. Magni was transformed into a diamond statue. He was presumed dead, and his funeral service was held. Magni's daughter Moira returned to Ironforge with her infant son to claim the throne. Backed by the Dark Iron clan, Moira became a tyrant. She had the Griffins moved out of the city, and Deep Run Tram closed, holding all of Ironforge hostage, including Anduin. Anduin managed to have Moira drop her guard after revealing to her that he knew what happened in her past. He escaped and told his father, King Varian, what events transpired at Ironforge. Varian was furious and took 18 Stormwind intelligence operatives to take back Ironforge and assassinate Moira. Just as Varian was about to assassinate Moira, Anduin rushed up to his father. Wait, Ironforge has been through enough. Killing Moira would only unleash more chaos and questions who is to rule when she is dead. Instead, let's teach her to be a better leader. Varian hesitated. She threatened your life and took this city hostage. Surely you can't be serious. Varian looked upon Anduin, who stood his ground. Fine. But you must earn the respect of your people, Moira. To ensure all dwarf voices are being heard, you are to instate a council of 3 hammers. Ironforge will share rule between Moira of the Dark Iron clan, Muradin of the Bronzebeard clan, and Falstead of the Wildhammer clan. If you break these terms, I will be back for your life. Moira attempted to unite the 3 clans by reconstructing the Hammer of the High King. However, it was eventually agreed that the unification of the dwarves shouldn't be represented by something that can be torn apart again, and the pieces of the hammer were smashed. 4 years after the petrification of Magni, a spirit was felt inside the mountains of Khazmodan. The spirit was strong, but it was not an elemental, or a type. It spoke in a dwarven accent that echoed across Azeroth. For behold, we are earthen, and its soul is ours. Its pain is ours, and its heartbeat is ours. Muradin and some of his priests asked Moira to speak with the diamond statue of Magni. She did this very rarely in trying times, and thought it a fool's errand instructed by Muradin, but complied to keep up appearances and not to create hostility within the kingdom. Moira kneeled before the statue of her father. Father, I know you do not approve of my rule, but The statue thundered, and crashing down came a living diamond Magni Bronzebeard. With a voice like a mountain slide, Magni spoke. I speak for the soul of Azeroth, and have become one with the land. Muradin and Falstead rushed down in disbelievement. They were unsure what this meant for the rule of Ironforge. By the laws of Ironforge, Magni was still the rightful king. Magni approached the council of the 3 hammers. My friends, I am no longer a king. but a servant. I serve Azeroth, and come bearing a message. I must prepare to depart immediately, to warn the others of the impending burning threat. As he was preparing to depart, he requested to speak with his daughter Moira, alone, outside the gates. Magni waited patiently outside the gates, wondering if she would even show up. Moira approached Magni. He was shocked, and had a final message before his departure. Moira, I know I have not been a good father. I have seen your rule over the last 4 years, and I could not have been more wrong about you. If all 3 dwarven clans come together, perhaps then we can be family. I would like you to consider giving me another chance as a father. Magni left to give Moira some time to consider his request. He set off for the Maelstrom. Azeroth had informed Magni about a lost Titan vault. Magni, Bran, a high priest, and Batild Deep Anvil took a submarine from Azuna to the depths of the Great Sea. They discovered the Primordial Observatory. Inside this vault, there were 3 Seekers, creatures that had been infused with the light by the Titans to help the Watchers of Azeroth. One of these Seekers had been infected with the Void, causing the vault's security defense to activate. Magni knew this is the reason why Azeroth sent him here. The High Priest that was with Magni was able to cleanse the Vault of the Void. When Magni attempted to communicate with Azeroth after, he sensed something was wrong. Azeroth communicated with feelings rather than words, and Magni could feel the fear within the Titan herself. Magni requested aid in Sholazar Basin, where he revealed to the others the Hall of Communion, a place that had been built by the Titans to watch over the World Soul. Here, Magni could communicate with Azeroth clearly. The Hall of Communion was infested. Manifestations of Azeroth's nightmare. The manifestations were shown through the forms of minions of the Burning Legion and the Old Gods. He traveled to Argus, homeworld of the Burning Legion, on the Vindikar after discovering the reason for Azeroth's fear. Magni could feel a World Soul trying to communicate with him. He was convinced that this was the World Soul of Argus. The shamanistic tribe of the planet, the Krokrul, revealed to Magni a relic that they heard voices from. Upon interacting with the relic, a vision of Agrimar was shown, resurrected as a servant of Sargeras. Shortly after, Argus calls out to him again, scared, desperate, and fearful. Interacting with the relic again, Magni discovers that Sargeras is attempting to bring all of the Pantheon under his command. Eonar calls out to him, "You must get the heroes of Azeroth and find me. All will end if Sargeras is successful in my sanctuary." Magni joined the Army of Light and transported the heroes of Azeroth to the seat of the Pantheon, where they defeated Sargeras' spawn of Argus. As immersion breaking as this is, I would like to stop here and say that if you haven't defeated Argus in World of Warcraft Legion and watched the cinematic, it covers most of what I will cover in the next minute, but it is much more epic. The Pantheon, with the help of Magni and Illidan, were able to imprison Sargeras with Illidan as his jailer. Sargeras mortally wounded Azeroth and Silithus. Her blood began to appear across the world in the form of a mineral known as Azerite. The Horde and the Alliance killing each other over this power. Magni told the adventurers, "You must not exploit the blood of Azeroth for its power. Azeroth is your only home, and you must not allow her to die. Please, convey this message to your faction leaders." Thus concludes the adventures of Magni Bronzebeard so far. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to see future content by me, be sure to hit that subscribe and bell button. Until next time, this has been Gubstep with Praise the Lore. Goodbye, friends.